This question comes from Shop Stream Station. Where do you see yourself in 15 to 20 years? So that was similar to the 10 years question, but 15 and 20 years, that's even more crazier. I think in 15 years, by then, I would be settled down with kids and a wife, maybe. And I would probably be a political candidate, whether it would be the governor of my state or a senator, and I would be preparing to run for president in 2040, which would be in 20 years. So in the 20 years section, where do I see myself in 20 years, I would hope that by then, hopefully I would be the president of the United States, because we need better presidents. Thank you for watching. I really enjoyed doing this. I may do it again in a few years. I'm not sure if I should wait a few years or not, but just let me know if y'all do want another Q&A and submit your questions again. So yeah, I did enjoy doing this. If y'all ever have any other questions, most of y'all already have me on Discord, so feel free to ask it. Hope you all guys have a good month of October. Peace. What moment or experience had the most impact on your creative work? So I would say losing my brother had a lot of impact on me and my work, but also it made me push ahead even more, because I had inspiration despite all the pain and loss to build something that he would be proud of. Hope that answers your question. I know that's a pretty short answer, but yeah, like, I think it was just with the losses that I had, either that or being noticed by people that I admire. The next question comes from a young woman. As a young woman trying to find my own voice, what advice would you give to people trying to make it into the entertainment industry among the pressure? So my advice for that is to stay true to you, even if your opinion or if your feelings, if how you feel is really popular at the time and people disagree with you, that's okay, because people have their opinions, but it doesn't mean that you have to change who you are just because people disagree with you. Now, it's okay to debate with them and admit when you're wrong and be like, okay, so you actually have a valid point. Thank you for making your point more valid than mine. It doesn't mean that your point or your opinion was never valid. So among the pressure and stuff, I would say just to be true to you and you will succeed. If you are staying true to yourself, I think a lot of people will see that. So this question comes from my sister, Blossom. She said, how do you get noticed by so many celebrities and brands? I'm sure people would like to know. That's basically how she said the question, but obviously I'm not going to read the full question because that's a lot to remember. So how have I been noticed by many celebrities and brands is because I'm consistent, persistent. You gotta be persistent, you got to not just do it because you want to get noticed, but you also do it because you enjoy their content, especially with writing engaging comments. You gotta write engaging comments, to make yours stand out. And I would also advise to turn on notifications, for channels and accounts that you like. Because if you turn on notifications, then you'll be one of the first people, and then you can type out a comment. And it doesn't always work, but you never know. So that's how I got noticed by many celebrities and brands, because I was just being genuine. I was being active. that answers your questions. Just the next question is, what is the number one struggle you had when recording a video, podcast, or a song? So for a video, I would say sometimes just iPhone storage in general. Like, I have so much like garbage in my gallery, like from screenshots and just other stuff. So sometimes, like, I'll just be recording a video and then that thing stops mid through. I'm just like, ugh. So then I would go through and delete a bunch of, useless screenshots. And, as far as videos, that would be a struggle. Another struggle is, having a stuttering problem. I don't know if y'all have ever noticed when I'm talking. It was way worse than when I was a kid. Like, I heard stories as a kid from my mom that, like, my stuttering problem was so bad as a kid that I would have to stomp to ask for something. Like, I would stomp my feet just to get some words out. Thankfully, sound like that anymore, and I can still speak pretty clearly, but whenever I get excited or nervous when talking, it could show. So yeah, I think that is a pretty big struggle. Or especially when I'm like trying to read a big word, I'm just like, oh man, this is a big word. How do I pronounce that? So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So the next question is, how have you been doing since 2020? Well, honestly, there's just been a lot of ups and downs. Like, 2020 was 4 years ago, so there's been a lot of changes in my personal life and in the internet world. There's been so much that has happened. So how have I been doing since 2020? I would say that I've been doing mostly okay. Like, I can't complain. I'm blessed, by the glory of God. I would never deny Jesus in front of the camera. So I would say that I'm blessed because of God. And even in the face of adversity, I can still be doing well. So how have I been doing since 2020? I've been doing pretty good. I've been trying to keep things going, So thank you for the question. Hope that answers it. The next question is, what inspired you to be who you are? Well, depending on the project, I'm going to answer this based on my energy drink project. So my dad inspired me to be who I was because he was blind and he still ran his own cafe business. And I think some of y'all do know about the cafe that he ran. If you joined me in my Roblox days, I had built his cafe in Roblox and it got a very big audience for that. So what inspired me is him, is because being a blind entrepreneur, that's pretty inspiring, to be honest. Hope that answers your question. So the next question is, what inspires you to make YouTube videos? So this was pretty much answered on the other question, but I would say, with my channel now being a TV and news channel, what keeps me inspired now is because, like, the internet is constantly evolving in front of our eyes, and if I want to keep inspiring people, I have to stay relevant in the industries, and I have to keep making my voice heard as well in the form of media, because there's a lot of misinformation spread in the world. So I want to make sure people get the right stuff in their heads and their hearts, because there's a lot of negativity around. So what inspires me to make YouTube videos is to create something positive. Hope that answers your question. So the next question is, what is your inspiration behind most of the projects that you have worked on? So with YouTube, like, because YouTube was my first project, I started out in 2015 with like a different channel. Before this one, it only gained 7 subscribers, but then I lost the channel, so then I made this channel now, and that's how I am where I am today. So the inspiration to do YouTube was because I I grew up in a small town, like on a farm called Holiday. It's located in the Tennessee area, and there wasn't a lot of people around, like that I could hang around and chill. And since I grew up in a small town in the 2010s, in the early rise of social media, because 2010s is when social media really started popping off. It made me want to create videos so I could hopefully one day be an inspiration to others. Now, my music project, the reason I started music is because I have a lot of emotions and thoughts, and I just want to share what I'm thinking and feeling to the world. I think that's probably the inspiration of many musicians. They just want to be able to share their feelings and thoughts to the world, so they can hopefully maybe even help people relate and to feel like they're not alone, because not everyone can be a musician. So I think most people that start creating music hopes to be a voice for people that are never going to create music and let their thoughts and feelings be heard. So my podcasting project, in elementary, I started out wanting to be a weatherman as an elementary kid. When I was in elementary, I would always tell my principal about the weather, and every day he would come back to me and be like, "What's the weather today?" and stuff. But then over time, I wanted to do more than just weather. I wanted to just be someone that reports on news. And since the rise of podcasting has happened in this decade, I guess, I felt like, I could have a voice in the podcasting place too. So to combine weather and breaking news in one, that's how SDN is what it is. My inspiration behind my energy drinking brand is because I grew up drinking Monster Energy and many different energy drinks alike. So I thought, why couldn't I do that too? If these big corporations can make their own energy drink brand, so can I. And I think that does answer your question. But I can't answer another project. So my TV series, I Nephew, the reason that I started that is because, when Hurricane Katrina happened in my city, my family lost a lot of childhood memories, and I didn't want that to be a thing that happens for my nephew. I want him to have those memories. So yeah. And now I Nephew has become more than just a place of memories. It became a show that people generally enjoy watching. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So the next question is, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Now, in the next 10 years, if y'all didn't know, in the next 10 years, I'll be 32 years old. So there's a lot that can happen in 10 years, because just 5 years ago, I was 17. And now I'm 22. Think about that, 5 years ago, we didn't have a pandemic. 5 years ago, there's just a lot of things that have changed about the internet in 5 years. I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed that, but where do I see myself in the next 10 years? Maybe I'll get lucky with having my own kid. I'm not really pushing to have a kid and stuff, but a lot can happen in 10 years. So I may just have a kid by then, and I can push them ahead, and try to raise them how I was raised, like instilling those values into them. Now, as far as projects go, because I think you were more of asking, what do I see myself in 10 years in my work and projects? Well, I hope in the next 10 years that my iNephew TV series is in Netflix, Apple TV, and Tubi. Like, I want to get iNephew into further than just Roku and YouTube, and I truly believe that I can do that. So I would say probably in the next 10 years, that's where I see myself at, is being on Netflix, or at least Apple TV and Tubi. I think, by the time it's the 2030s, I think that iNephew can go to further places. Now, as far as like my content, I probably would still be doing the same thing, like iNephew episodes and podcasting, but I'll have way more of an audience, even more than I have now watching. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Hello YouTube, welcome to another video. This is a Q&A video where I've gathered people that watch my content and they ask the burning questions for this today. So the first question is, what is your greatest accomplishment that you never thought you would have achieved it? And to answer that question, I would say my greatest accomplishment that I never thought I would have achieved it is being noticed by the people that I admire. Like, when you first start out, like, creating something and trying to do something that you're passionate about, like, most of the time, most people just don't see themselves doing something very big until they get that sort of validation that gives them the motivation to keep pushing and keep going. So to answer that question, the greatest accomplishment I never thought I would achieve is the amount of celebrities and brands that have took notice of what I'm doing. It's a really great feeling, and it inspires me to keep going, because I've been in this thing for about 10 years. I actually have a secret YouTube channel that y'all probably are unaware of that I created in like 2014, 2015. Can't remember which one it was, but that was like my first ever channel. But I lost that channel, and that's how it became Shadow.